And we're in James chapter 1, verse 12. The title of this message is Satan's Pest Control. Satan's Pest Control, James chapter 1, verse 12. Now I want to be asking a question. Are you a pest? Now think about that. Are you a pest? Now I'm not talking about are you a pest to me, or are you a pest to your parents, or are you a pest to your husband, or a pest to your wife. I'm talking about are you a pest to the devil? Okay? I mean, I know we're probably all at times pests to our spouse, okay? I mean, that's the way that works out. But are you a pest to the devil? Do you get on the devil's nerves? Are you a threat to him? Do you mess up his normal, average, everyday way of life? Now let me say that if you're glorifying God in your lifestyle and you come to church and you sing songs glorifying God and lifting up God, you're a pest to the devil. If you go around witnessing to people and telling people about Jesus Christ, you're a pest to the devil. He's got big plans to keep that person lost, and you keep showing up dropping little seeds of the gospel every once in a while. You keep showing up living a godly lifestyle in front of them. You keep showing them that you got something they don't have, and he don't like that. You're a pest to the devil. Do you witness to people? Do you give people godly advice? Do you invite people to church? I mean, all kinds of ways that if you're doing anything godly at all, you're a pest to the devil. And guess what? If you're a pest to Satan, he wants to exterminate you. He wants to exterminate you. He wants to get rid of you. He wants to, just like, hey, when you're in a house and you got mice in there and they got droppings all over the countertop and you see them go across the room at night and you see them all the time, hey, they're a pest. They're called pests, right? And you want to get rid of them because they're messing up your average everyday life. You want to live a life mice-free. But they keep showing up. And so what do you want to do to them? You want to exterminate them. Right? You want to get rid of them. And Satan wants to exterminate you. Now go ahead and read this text with me. Y'all get that? It sets up the message pretty nicely. And this is a good message, and it's real practical because we've all been there and all done that. We all know, everybody in here has probably tried to catch a mouse before. You know what it's like, okay? Or you've seen somebody do it. Some of you younger people are like, oh, that's gross. But you've seen somebody try to do it before. James chapter 1 verse 12 says, Blessed is the man that endureth temptation, for when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life, which the Lord hath promised to them that love him. Let no man say when he is tempted, I am tempted of God, for God cannot be tempted with evil, neither tempteth he any man. But every man is tempted when listen to this verse, every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust. Now pay attention to that. That's your own lust. And enticed. That's a big word, enticed. You ever been enticed? That means you want to do something, right? You're drawn away of your own lust and you're enticed. In verse 15, it says, And when lust hath conceived, it bringeth forth sin, and sin, when it is finished, bringeth forth death. Now let me go ahead and begin by saying that Satan's a savvy old trapper. Right? Jeff Becker's a savvy old trapper. He's going to relate to this real well. Satan wants to catch you in his trap. I want you to think about it. Satan wants to, you're a pest to him. He wants to exterminate you. And you say, well, how is he going to exterminate us? He's going to exterminate you with his trap. He wants to catch you in his trap. Are y'all grabbing a hold of this? All right, I'm going to give you the example here. I'm going to give you the example of a mouse trap. Okay? Now, the guy that sold this to me says, don't put your fingers. If you put 2 fingers in there, it'll break your fingers smooth off, okay? If you stick a pencil in there, it'll break it off, okay? But then we're going to use the example of this trap, okay? And you see this trap, and you think, okay, we know already we're the pest, right? We're a pest to Satan. We're messing up Satan's plans. And so the pest is you. This is this thing's designed to catch rats and mice, and that's what you are. You're a pest, and so this thing is designed to catch you, to exterminate you. Now, the trapper that sets the trap out is the devil. Okay? He's the one that's going to put the trap out to try to get you in it. Okay, so you know you're the pest. Satan's the trapper. He's going to put this thing out to try to catch you. But think about what the trap is. The trap is sin. This thing's sin right here. And just like the whole goal of this trap is to catch the mouse and to catch the rat and to kill the rat when the rat gets in the trap, that's the goal of this thing. That's the goal of sin. Sin, when it is finished, we read it right there, sin, when it is finished, bringeth forth death. When this trap gets done doing what it's set to do, it brings forth death. Are y'all playing along? You're the pest, right? Satan's the trap setter, and the trap is sin. And then we got something right there on the end of it, the cheese. We see the cheese, right? That ain't real, y'all know that. But that's the cheese. That's the bait. And that bait is basically how the trapper expects you to get in the trap. The bait is your lust. And we'll get back to that. But first thing I want to talk about, how's he going to get you in that trap? He's going to do it with the bait. Now think about that. He's going to do it with lust. He's going to do it with sin. Now that's the first thing I want to talk about. I want to talk about the bait. Now, right here, we got a piece of cheese. We got our bait right here. All right? Verse 14 says, "But every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed." Now here's the thing about a mouse. Mice like cheese. Can a mouse help it that he likes cheese? He's just born that way, right? He can't help it. He was born liking cheese, and that's natural. That's naturally the way that he is. He can't help it that he likes cheese. He just likes cheese. And whenever he sees cheese, he's attracted to it. When he sees cheese, he's lusting after it because that's what he is. He's a mouse, just like a squirrel likes acorns. A squirrel can't help it that he likes acorns. That's just the way it's made. And when he sees an acorn, he's going to be drawn to it, and he's going to be brought to it. And here's the thing about you. You are a natural-born sinner. And you're drawn to sin, and there's certain sin that you got, your bait, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but certain sin that you got that's your bait, that you can't help it, but you're drawn to it. When you see it, you want to go to it. When you see it, you want to go get it. You want to eat it. It's the bait. That's why it's called bait for a reason. It entices you. It's there, dangling in front of you, and you want it. Now let me go ahead and say this about temptation. Temptation's wouldn't be temptation if you didn't want to do it. Right? If you didn't like ice cream, which you'd be crazy, right? Even people they're lactose intolerant still like it. You got ice cream with chocolate on top of it. But if you didn't like ice cream and you didn't like chocolate, then if somebody set a big bowl of chocolate ice cream in front of you, it wouldn't bother you. You'd look at it and say, "Ew, that's gross, I don't like that." But most people would look at that, and they're on a diet, they're not supposed to eat it, they would be enticed by it, they'd be drawn to it, they'd be wanting to eat it. And some people, they might not even like ice cream and chocolate that much, but they just want to eat it because they're on a diet and they're not supposed to. That's the way it works, right? Sometimes we want to do things just because we know we're not supposed to, even though we don't really like it. And so it's the trapper's job, think about this, to put the bait in front of the pest. Now, Jeff knows about this. When you're trying to trap something, first thing you want to do is you want to go to where what you're trying to trap is. Okay, if I want to catch a mouse, I'm going to go set this trap over here in the corners of the room where I think mice usually travel. And I'm going to go put it in places behind the refrigerator, stuff like that, where you think the mice are going to be, because you know where you usually see them. And then after you put the trap in their way, you put the bait on it. See, that's what Satan does. Satan knows where you go. Satan knows who you hang around. Satan knows where you're going to be on Monday night. Satan knows where you're going to be on Friday morning. He knows where you're going to be on Saturday afternoon. He knows where you're going to be on Sunday. He knows where you go and where you hang out. You're a pest to him. He wants to get rid of you, and it's his job to set that trap, put it where you're at, and then put your piece of cheese on it. And everybody's got a different piece of cheese. Some of us, I got bait written on this, but we could write all kinds of different things on that. Our temptation. What draws us, what entices us. I don't know. I tell you this, I don't know what your bait is, and I don't want to know what your bait is. I'm not that nosy of a pastor. Okay, I don't. I don't want to know all your failures and all your shortcomings. I don't want to know your deepest, darkest secrets. I'm not a priest. Okay, you don't have to confess them to me. Go confess them to God, and He'll take care. Hey, I want to think that you're great and wonderful and the best person in the world. I think that right now. But when you come tell me your deepest, darkest secrets, I'm like, oh, why did you tell me that? You should have just told Jesus. He'll take care of it. I can't take care of it. All it did was mess my way of thinking up. But Satan knows what your bait is. Right? And Satan's putting the bait on the trap where he knows you're going to be, and he knows you're going to come along, and you're going to say, look at that. He knows you're going to come along, and you're going to look at that cheese, and you're going to be like, there's the cheese. There it is. There's what I love to do. Now let me go ahead and say, it's not a sin to lust. It's not a sin to want the bite. You naturally want it. You're a natural-born sinner. It's not a sin to want to take a bite. It's a sin when you take the bite. Every man is drawn away of his own lust and enticed, and lust, when it conceiveth, it bringeth forth sin. See, when you go ahead and give in, that's when you sin. Just because you look at something, you say, well, I'd like to do that. That looks like fun. You ain't sinned yet. But when you go against it and you do it anyway, that's where the sin takes place. Let me say this. It's Satan's job. He knows you're going to be on TV tonight, flipping through the channels looking for something to watch. He knows that. You do it every night. It's his job to put sex on every channel on TV. It's his job to put liberal professors and stuff into colleges. It's his job to put, I mean, listen to me. If you're, and I know this, if you're somebody who has a drinking problem and you're trying to quit drinking, you better just count on it. It's going to just happen. You're saying, I'm not going to drink, I'm not going to go around it. Satan's going to find a way to put it right in front of you. If it's drugs, you're trying to get off drugs, you say, I'm not going to do it anymore. Satan knows what he's doing. He knows what you like. He knows what your bait is. He knows where you're going. He knows where you travel. And he's going to find a way to dangle the cheese in front of you. That's his job. He's the trapper. You just got to be smart enough not to get in it. You got to be smart enough to say, that's a trap. So you got the bait. But then you got the bite. See, Satan set the trap. Now the question is, there it is. There it is. The question now is, are you going to take the bait? The trap's set. The bait's in the trap. Now are you going to take it? That's the question. Now I want you to think about that. The mouse comes along. Now you think about a little bitty old mouse comes along and looks at this thing. What's a trap? First, I mean, you see the trap before you see the cheese, right? That's a trap, okay? But there's the cheese, right? I know that's a trap. Obviously, it's a trap. But there's the cheese. We know it's a trap when we see sin. I mean, the Bible says we are, I believe 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 11, we are not ignorant of his devices. We know how Satan does it. We know Satan sets a trap. We know Satan puts the bait in the trap, and he sets it, he puts it in front of us. The little mouse walks up and looks at this thing and says, obviously that's a big trap. Obviously that would smash me in two. But there's the cheese. And he's looking at it. And the more he stops and the more he looks at it and the more he studies it, he gets to thinking, I bet I could get that cheese out without getting in that trap. Right? I bet if I was quick enough and smart enough and easy enough, I could sneak right up to that piece of cheese, nibble a few bites off of it, and get out of there real quick. Or I might be able to get a hold of it and just pull the whole thing off and the trap go off and miss me. And that's what the mouse thinks, right? I bet I could get that without getting in it. And they even start to believe that they could get it off without getting bit. But they also might think that they could bite it. And even if it smashed them, they might start thinking that the bite is worth the bang. You know, Adam and Eve as in the garden. I believe Adam and Eve got convinced by the trapper that they know, hey, that tree of knowledge of good and evil, we're not to eat of it. If we eat of it, we will surely die. They knew it was a trap. They knew they weren't supposed to take the bait. And I believe Eve said, you know what? We're going to be like gods, knowing both good and evil. I bet you if I take that fruit, it's worth the bang. I know it's going to hurt, and I know I'm going to have to suffer some consequences for it. I know I'm going to have to answer to God, but I guess it's worth the pain. I mean, think about that. Go ahead and take that cheese off her. You going to take cheese off her? Anybody want to take cheese off? Take cheese off her. Nobody will take cheese off the bait. Take that cheese off her. So I can't get anybody to take the cheese off the bait because they're afraid to smash their fingers and break their little fingers, right? We won't take the cheese off this bait. But we won't take the bait off this trap, but we'll take the bait off Satan's trap every day. And this trap, all this trap's going to do is break your fingers. The trap that Satan has set, and you're going up there and you're saying, I think I can get away with it this time. I think I'll get away with it this time. I think I'll get away with it this time. And you're trying to sneak the bait off of Satan's trap. That trap just ain't going to break your fingers. That trap's going to send you to hell, and that trap is going to kill you. And we're playing around. We won't play with this trap, but we'll play with the real trap. What's sad, ain't it? Maybe I couldn't get nobody to take the bait off of that trap because maybe Satan's a better enticer than me. Amen? Maybe he's a little bit more smooth talking to me. I bet I could have found a tough guy in here. And if I'd have really talked him into it, I bet I could have got him to try to take that cheese off there. Oh, I got it set up. It really won't hit you. Just take it off with a crowd. And somebody who took that thing off there and got their fingers broke. Satan's just a better enticer. Okay, so you got the bite. You got the bait. It's set. You got the bite. That's when the little mouse gets in there and thinks, boy, I'm going to do it. And then you got the bang. Look at verse 15. Then when lust hath conceived, it bringeth forth sin. And right here's the bang. And when sin, when it is finished, it bringeth forth death. In order for you to get the bait, now think about this. In order for you to get the bait, you got to get in the trap. And when you get in the trap goes bang. Amen? It goes bang. It goes bang. Now I want you to think about this. You ever missed one? Now how many of you, I know I've had these before. I'm assuming most of you have too. You all of a sudden you realize, man, I got a bunch of mice in the house. They're everywhere. We're going to go ahead, we're going to buy a bunch of mouse traps, we're going to put peanut butter and cheese on them, we're going to set them up all over the house, and then you get them all set up around the house, and you lay there in bed and you're waiting. Real quiet, and you're laying there, and you're waiting for them to start going off. Well, pretty soon, pow, 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 they start going off. And you can tell by the sound of the trap going off whether you got it or not. You're like, boy, that sounded good, I got that one. And then you hear one go, you like flip around, and you say, well, I missed that one. And you go back and you take out the dead ones and you reset the traps, and the one that you missed, you reset the trap and you really try to get the bait on there real good. He's going to get in there this time. And he gets out again, and he gets out again. And you know, and you're sitting there smiling the whole time laying there in bed saying, I know, as long as he keeps coming back to that trap, eventually I'm going to get him. And see, that's what Satan's doing. Hey, I've taken the bait out of the trap and got away with it lots of times. Hadn't y'all? Let's just be honest. We've taken the bait out of the trap lots of times, got away with it. Sometimes the trap didn't even go off. Nobody even had a clue we did it. Sometimes the trap goes off and rattles around, and man, we got away just by the skin of our teeth, and man, we're so lucky we didn't get caught. But I'm going to tell you something. As long as you keep going back to that trap and taking that bait off that trap, eventually, Satan's just sitting there smiling. Eventually he's going to get in there just right. Eventually he's going to mess up just long enough, and I'm going to have him. And you know what? You can catch him in a trap different ways. Sometimes you can have them right behind the head, right in the neck, and man, their neck's broke, they're graveyard dead. They're dead. And sometimes sin can kill you instantly. But sometimes it'll just go ahead and it'll just get them on the side or something, or just get their back in, break their hips. And they're sitting there still alive. When you find them, they're squirming, trying to get out. And you know what? They're not dead yet, but they're just as good as dead. If you're in Satan's trap, you might even still be alive. But let me tell you something. If you're in Satan's trap, you're just as good as dead. And I want you to think about this. If trap banged and you got out, and I know there's a lot of people sitting in this room tonight that got the cheese off, got the bait off the trap went off, and you got away. Maybe even your tail got in it, but you got away. You need to just thank God that He gave you a second chance. You know, something I've learned about God, He's a merciful God. He's a long-suffering God. And He ain't, and I've heard people say, you know, God, I hear people say this all the time, God's a God of second chances. Yeah, right. God's a God of 1,000,000 chances. How many chances has He given you? I guarantee you it's more than 2. He's given me hundreds and hundreds and thousands of chances, and He keeps giving me chances, and He's long-suffering. I keep getting out of the trap, even though I keep taking the bait. But I know, and I got to just use reason, and I just got to use common sense and the promise of God's Word. As long as I keep getting in the bait, eventually the trap's going to get me. And so take a warning. When it's conceived, it bringeth forth death. When sin's finished, it brings forth death. That's what sin does. And you can keep playing around, but you know what the best thing to do? When you see the trap with the bait in it, well, that'd be fun to go in there and try to sneak a piece off. But when you see a bait or a trap with a bait in it, just walk on around. Just go on around, and you'll find some good food on down the road. You'll find something that's good for you, and there ain't no trap associated with it. I'm going to ask you to stand tonight.